I don't know if it was brought to the public's attention prior to Ian Allen.
So we're here. Hyperchima, East Secondary.
What?
Making a little appearance here, I know.
Come to do this.
Goodness, boss.
What kind of craziness is this? These people are role models. And you know what I've noticed? Actually, I don't know what's going on with the ministry. So I see certain persons going cussing thing the most ridiculous way, the worst way. And they have them visiting schools. What kind of craziness is this? These people are role models. I saw over the weekend somebody sent me a clip of some people going to schools, and they're the people be cussing all on social media, the worst, making the worst remark.
And the dollars with money, if that's the case. You understand? Because I love the money. Wherever the money is, I go pour and condemn and something.
Doing all kind of silly things. No way, everyone, my child even watch them. No, they're no role model. They can't even inspire nothing. They can't encourage nobody to change.
They are a role model for little girls.
And these people visiting schools, you know. Visiting schools, and imagine, and the children, that is a role model. First of all, the teacher should, the principal of those schools should have never let those people visit schools. You can't, those are not role models. Those people can never be role models. Their behavior on social media is terrible, like the worst.
Normally you don't drink till your husband tonight, you're drinking. Get drunk. Two things where you wouldn't do. You don't smoke weed, smoke a little weed, take a two bucks a day. You understand? Play the ass sometimes. One back up on the beach, bend over, and butt in the pants while you're going up on the highway. You understand? A little freakiness goes a long way.
I telling you to educate yourself. Little girls just watching you.
But yet you have them visiting schools? No. That's why children are bullies today. They feel they can cuss one another and beat them and threaten this one and want to deal with this one and that one because the kind of people you have visiting schools and children think that they are role models. No, don't do that. There are plenty of good people out there, role models who can visit and inspire children.
Because all our lazy shit come class.
And these people visiting schools, you know. Visiting schools, and imagine, and the children, that is a role model. First of all, the teacher should, the principal of those schools should have never let those people visit schools. You can't, those are not role models. Those people can never be role models.
No, God! No, God, please!
But let me say Ian Allen is the one study rap, right? That's how I got wind of it. That's the first video I saw that was talking about it. And he was highlighting that I don't know the names of these people other than NCW, right? Right. But I don't know I know her. I've seen a lot of her videos, but I don't know who she is. I don't know her name.
Matara French.
What?
Matara French.
That's her name? Like that's her actual name?
Yeah.
Matara French?
Yeah.
Serious?
Yeah.
Like, if you asked me to guess that girl name, that wouldn't have been it. But yeah, but that's a social media handle, or that's a like government name?
As far as I know, people even before people used to call her. I think even KG know, and there's what KG tell me her name was.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So she was. I think she was the one that really had a problem with, not the NCW guy, right? They were called in to appear at some schools?
Caripechima. Well, one school in particular, the school as highlighted was Caripechima something. One
was that primary school or?
Nah, secondary school.
Secondary school, right?
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I can't imagine what they would have been doing or what she would have, not really NCW, but what she would have been doing, because like, okay, well, we get to that in a second. But anyway, the point is, we summarize the story. So, right. It was pointed out that she was one of the influencers that was brought in, and Ian Allen took issue with the fact that schools would have brought her in.
Right.
Considering that she has some questionable, okay, let me just say adult content, right? On her,
I think now
she's famous for adult content.
When you say adult content, it might seem
so,
like...
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. My bad. Well, it's on general social media, so it can't be that adult.
Right.
But you know what I mean? She's how to put it? Her content would certainly not be considered appropriate for children.
Right, yeah.
So he was, asking the question, how could this happen? He was blaming the ministry coming and said them didn't approve nothing, blah, blah, right? But it's now kind of broached that topic and made it something that that's now in the public's consciousness, who we allow in schools to make appearances, and have some sort of influence on our children. So take it away, Naldo.
In this situation, I think it's a very interesting one. Because for one, clearly she was well known because she was accepted and greeted and with open arms, right?
I disagree with that, but I'll make that point later.
Right, in terms of when she came out, children were screaming to see her there.
Right, but you see, but the reason why I take issue with that is that, it would make it is even more appropriate when you talk about primary schools, right? But just because children scream, don't mean they even know who this woman is. I went to the jump up the other day in the primary school, right?
Yeah.
And not went to, but I was there waiting to pick them up while it was going on, right? And there was they announced some lady who was from New York, and the way it wasn't the principal who made the announcement, whoever made the announcement over the PA system, that it was a woman who was playing music, and she flew all the way from New York, right? And obviously she didn't come from New York to play in the primary school dance. She said her name, and the whole school screamed. Because it's a trend, and they don't, you understand what I'm saying? And it may very well be that 10 people know, and them scream. And then everybody else just scream because, I don't want to.
In that secondary school situation, I don't think that is the situation. I think she is well known by a lot. I think if it was a school, if it was probably a more prestigious school, probably I might understand or agree with what you're saying, but...
No, what I'm saying is I don't think you should necessarily equate the reaction from the children to mean she's necessarily well known and liked amongst all of them.
But no,
or by even the majority of them.
I think in this situation, that might have been the situation. If you're talking generally, I'll understand. In this situation, I think a lot of them know her and might be a bit fond of her. No, I'm not saying because somebody is popular amongst the children that you should bring them in the school, right? What I'm saying is that should also be highlighted as Nathan Springer was saying. That is something they had to take into consideration as well. If they know her well enough, they probably will know her content as well.
Yeah, but and this is my issue. Okay, well I'll let you finish making it
right.
Yeah.
So I think that is something we have to look at as well. In terms of the ministry giving the okay to certain people, I could understand why they would want to do that. But I think sometimes that is where the bureaucracy and the red tape and whatever you could lose certain opportunities for people to talk to children. Like, let me just say, you have some international person who comes on, you have some actor or something who comes on and, they're making a quick wrongs.
Yeah.
It is to get approval.
That to me was... I felt like all the ministry was interested in doing was
covering their ass,
right? But I don't think they expect principals to call them every time somebody makes an appearance.
And you know how those processes could go. But and then the next thing, my next and final point, well, putting into this right now for the while is they were touting her as an ambassador for the youth, the ministry youth and sport. Yeah. And I don't Red Bull didn't see that. So
I didn't know it.
Yeah, so she was in these meetings at a lot of these young, so you're kind of influential, not influencers, but young people who have businesses, young people who, right, that kind of 40 under 40 thing. You understand them kind of thing? I don't know if it was that same project or that same thing, but it had things like that. I wear hands and them was there. I understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And she was one of the people there in more than one event. You understand?
And that was under the auspices of the Ministry of
Youth and Sport and Youth, whatever his name is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that ministry, right? So when I saw that from the Ministry of Education, I was like, all right, no, I understand. Yes, if that is the procedure, And the protocol that you're supposed to, whatever, and the school went against, that's wrong. But to act like if, that person...
Well, I don't think... I mean, I might have misread the release, but I don't think they made any comment on the person. It was simply to say, hey, people saying, we allow this, but we didn't allow this, right? I don't like the idea of skirting away from the issue that the school invited the individual, and this is not with respect to her in particular, but with respect to anybody that they bring, with that whole but the children know who she is already, right? I think, first of all, again, I still maintain that I don't think you could necessarily judge simply from the fact that they were screaming, right? No, the other thing I would love to know is what she was doing. Because like that NCW guy is a comedian, a proper comedian, right? I believe. He's do like stand-up comedy, right?
Well, not really stand-up. More skit.
No, but he's do shows with...
There's more skit stuff. He
do skits in that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, right. But I guess he could do that, right? I was at my older daughter's achievement day function the other day, and they brought the fella who just do the letter thing now. The A for... Right, that guy.
Yeah, Stefan... His name, yeah.
Right, well, I couldn't remember his name. Right, but, so he was there, and he gave a kind of speech. Well, he was comedic, and he gave a sort of a speech to try to motivate them, right. I mean, I guess she could have done a motivational speech herself, but I don't think she's like a traditional comedian. She doesn't do comedy, right? You might find somebody tough, she says funny, but I don't think it would really necessarily classify as a comedian. So I would love to know what she does when she goes to these schools. Like, what is her act?
And the NCW is saying that she would go and advise people that, life might be hard, they might have challenges in life, but you have to rise, you have to overcome, don't fight, don't behave in a particular way. Yeah, that's what NCW is saying right after. I mean, I just explained it up.
Yeah, but you see, nah, dog, no. Listen, me not against the people and them making a little end. And I know if you was involved in her getting there, you might feel like you had to say something in her defense. But you cannot tell me that somebody whose whole shtick is raucous behavior and it generally, I mean, it's cantankerous behavior is her thing. That's her whole thing on social media. She wouldn't deny that. How could you then come and tell young people not to do the exact thing that I do every day that makes me famous? No, she doesn't fight on social media, I presume. But, behave and don't argue or have decorum. How could you...
Well, to be fair...
hope to encourage children to have decorum when you are famous for your lack of decorum?
Well, to be fair, we weren't there, and probably, giving them the benefit of the doubt, probably she go and tell them, listen, what they see me doing on social media, as well as acting,
right?
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
We could hope that is what she said. That this is just a social media persona, and it's not real,
right?
So don't follow that.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Which still is, and this is the point I was getting to later, right? It still is silly to do that because you're not an actor like Denzel Washington, right? Who it is clear there's no delineation. There's a clear delineation, between who he is and what he does on screen. And he plays multiple characters. So, you can't feel he's only, from Training Day Denzel, right? Number one. And number two, he is famous for acting in films. So if he is inspiring anybody to do anything, it's to become an actor. You are famous for your lack of decorum. And you cannot then tell young people, well, you see this thing I just do that is, and worse yet if you tell them it's an act, right? If you tell them, well, listen, this whole thing is fake, I am actually nothing like this. And then they're saying, so this is the persona you put on to become famous? And you're telling that to a generation of young people
who want to become famous.
All want to be, and feel they can become famous because of social media. Is that really making any sense?
No, the thing is, NCW is saying that, Trinidad and Tobago, we don't believe in reformation. right? And he is saying that, you know, so it's the same thing you see for the judicial system, you know, he just pointing out, I'm telling you, this is what the man saying, you know, we don't believe, we condemn people and we put them down and that is it. But he say, look at people like Wayne Chance and them. You understand? They you know, look, they do what they do and now everybody accepting them. They have radio show, you know, but...
Well, he don't have anything anymore because he's passed away.
Right? Well,
Chance,
yeah, right? But you're saying that...
I hope he was aware of that.
I can't remember, right? But
he's split parties. Why now too?
So, and you're saying, so you're saying things like that, and this young lady is looking to change her life and now, you know, they're looking to pull her down and pull her back down and that kind of thing.
You see, and this is the issue, right? I have seen a few things from the guy, from that NCW fella, and I used to rate him. But you see that clown thing you're telling me here now? That clown thing.
Well, right now, a lot of people calling him out. So, like, right now, everybody's dragging him right now.
Yeah.
And
that clown thing.
I understand why. No, I understand what he's trying to do. I understand why people dragging him.
No, I don't understand. Well, I know what he's trying to do, but I don't think all he's trying to do is defend what he was involved in.
Right, yeah.
Right? And you know, and I don't know if he's the booking agent and he gained something and he does help to carry her places. So maybe he's protecting his financial interests. But there's no noble element of what he's attempting to do. That is nothing but...
Well, I agree. No, you see, the thing is with him, I honestly think his heart in the right place, but I think his vision is still skewed. With a lot of people in life, you know, a lot of people, they want to do the right thing, or they're trying to do the right thing, or trying to do the best thing, but you know, they're still fighting with the system, fighting we and the whoever, and bringing up them kind of weirdness instead of just kind of taking the right path to doing it. You understand?
Yeah, I get what you mean, but I think what is really happening is that everybody's trying to justify what them does do, right? So the same people, because I remember you were showing me something about a video he had done sometime about some girl and them who robbing on the internet.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I remember him doing a video about how he can't take the negativity and the bacchanal thing, and so where's all that? And then now I don't follow the young lady, so I don't know if she started so and she changed now or whatever. No, I don't have any problem with her doing whatever she's doing on social media to make her end. I have no issue with that. So once she does that on social media, well, I say I have no issue with it. I wouldn't do it. I don't think it's, you know, if it is your aim to be influential, then you probably should try to be a little bit more constructive in your behavior. But whatever, right? I'm not here to judge how people make $1, right? But don't try to then defend going into schools now. And then people having an issue with her going into schools, because people don't have an issue with her doing what she does on social media. That's not the issue people have now. That's not what they're arguing with you about. They're not bringing her down because she's certain ways or whatever. No, they're saying, okay, do what you just do, but don't carry her to... But she shouldn't be having direct access to people's children. You know, in publicly funded schools. You understand what I'm saying? If it's a private school and everybody come together for that, then all right, cool. But that shouldn't be, and that is what people are taking issue with. Not because if you tell me, you know, certain brands want to pay her to promote their brand and people vex with that. Okay, I agree with you there. She's doing something. She's making an honest living, and if Malta want to call her to sponsor the brand, they feel, you know, whatever, they assessed her character and everything. I think, they will sell more Malta if she was attached to it. Then more power to her. Nobody has an issue with that. But we're now talking about her.
I think that point you make there just now is an incredible point, and it's a point that NCW need to take into consideration. The point of publicly funded schools. Yeah. So the thing is, if the public is having an issue with it, I think that's where you should back down, because it's we money, it's we taxpayers. You understand what I'm saying? Right? When I say we, the general population is the taxpayers, and if the taxpayers are uncomfortable with it, you have to back down and say, all right, and they could do some introspection. Now, my thing is, I saw his video and he talking about reform and people changing and whatever. And she is trying to change however the case may be, right? My only point is here, you know, if it does what you want to do. And I mean, there are some people who know they've been through a hard life, whatever the case may be, and they don't want to see other people go through that hard life, right? and they want to make a change and make an impact society, or whatever the case may be. She might have had her ways and still have some of those ways because it's there. It's that I'll back and I'll again. My only thing is go through your process and you change and you reform and then go out there. You understand? But you can't go out there and then somebody utter two bad words or some shippiness happen and then one time you're tripping back off and behaving the same way. That is my only issue in any matter.
I hear what you're saying, but I don't even have a problem with how she behaves, how she chooses to behave.
When I say go out there, I talk about go back to the schools. I talk about to the schools.
Right.
If you want to go to the schools and talk to the children, whatever, and you could change this, because if you think that is your calling to go and help and impact the youth, right? Positively, right? Then my thing is simple. Your side need polishing up. You say you want to change, you say you're changing. No, but make the change.
No, but I don't think that's what he's trying to say when he says she's trying to change, Because has her social media conduct changed?
Yes, it has. To be very fair to Matara,
okay.
It has, but the thing is, because it's that rab so ingrained in her, any little thing that happens, she's fly back off the handle. You understand what I'm saying? So I have seen some, especially since after the thing with the Ministry of Sports and Youth Affairs or whatever, you started to see a little, she's trying to dress a little different. She started to do other little things on her social media to try and change the image a bit. Obviously, there's a lot of work she will have to do compared to an average person. But I noticed some effort, I would say. But then the other day, as I say, something happened, you end up in a bacchanal. Something happened again, you end up in a bacchanal. Right. So it's and that's not an easy task.
You see, I have the same problem with artists who sing music, what people might consider objectionable music, violent music, vulgar music, whatever. Right? My whole issue is sing your music, hush your mouth. Make your money. I will never tell people boycott your music. I will never want to see a career come to an end because people push into, people fight you. If the people want to hear your music, let the people hear your music, right? I wish I lived in a world where people didn't want to hear it, but I grew up on violent music, vulgar music. I used to listen to vulgar and violent music, so I could completely understand why why there's an audience for it. So I will never want the artist to stop make money because of that, right? But then just don't when people point out the fact that you may be negatively influencing people or your music is lacks substance, whatever, then just, all right, cool. That's what I do. I just sing violent music because that's what people want to hear. Right. That's what they sell out there. Just be like, I remember there was this, Rowdy Rebel, the guy used to be with, Tommy Schmurder, Bobby Schmurder, Bobby Schmurder, right. Once he was asked about and he's like, yo, listen, I out here to make money, bro. I out here to make money. This is what is popping. So this is what I sing. Okay. Don't come and, boy, are singing for the youths in the ghetto and this and the system had to change and I don't start the violence and the people killing themselves. Oh God, just hush your mouth now. Just say, okay, I'll sing this for money. That's what I do. Because plenty of you ain't living a violent lifestyle anyway. So why anymore? So why when your lifestyle change, your music don't change? Because it's easy to sing bang, 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 shoot, fuck, whatever, and get your money. He ain't trying to work hard. And I understand that. But just don't give him this bullshit. Cartel used to do the same thing. When he sing about Clarks, and people start to wear Clarks, it's because he sing about Clarks. But when he sing about gun, and people shooting people, not me, brother, man.
Yeah, I remember he was in that interview. Was on stage or was he interview? Yeah. And when he was saying, I'm just an entertainer, and I can't influence people like that. But then, in your song, you say, from me say Clarks, everybody want one.
Yeah.
You understand?
If it's a positive trend, I started. You understand what I'm saying? But if it's something negative, nah, not to do that. So I just don't like that assness. So she does do what she does do on social media. Cool. A school want to pay she to come in to talk. She went and talked to each friend. Cool.
But so, I don't even think she get paid.
Well, okay.
But yeah.
I would have hoped so. I would think they get paid to make appearances.
But I would hope so too. But you think a school that never have money in Trinidad?
Yeah, because it is fine money to them for them thing. There's do fundraising. There's do whatever. Yeah, there's fine money for them thing. this pay DJs to come for dance, and you know what I mean. So they a school want to pay, or let's say they didn't pay, right? Let's say she just sees it as an opportunity to improve her profile, right? Somebody call you, you go. But then when people say, hey, dog, really, you feel you should be talking to Trent? Say, yeah, I understand. All right, I understand. How the hell are you going to talk to people, Trent, when I just be on social media behaving all kinds of ways?
But
I can kind of understand why people have a problem. And just move on.
But then the thing is, that also requires the person to take accountability. That also requires the person to think what it is do is wrong, or what it is do is not normal.
No, I don't think she would even feel that children should behave the way she's behaved. I think, yes, there might be some elements of her behavior that she might think are normalized, right? But I think even if a little child was to start to talk to her the way she does talk, it would even strike her like, whoa.
Right. No, I agree with that. But I also think there are some people who just live by do as I say, but not as I do. You understand? So they live a particular way, behave a particular way. But I come and I tell you, nah, don't do that. Don't do the same thing. And they think, well, nobody, but even though I just do this, I tell you not to do that, and they should understand.
Right. No, I understand, but I understand that. But what I'm saying is when somebody comes and says, hey, pause. How are you going out there talking to people, Trent? You can't be like, well, boy, you're fighting me. Or you think I's a positive role model. No, I don't think she and I would make that argument. If somebody was to say, look at your behavior on social media, that's why people have an issue with you being the one going in talking to children. I don't think she and all will be like, oh, no, they're wrong, and I just behaving like a model citizen. No, because in fact, she knows the thing about her that's appealing and funny and whatever is the fact that she, in many instances, lacks decorum. That is the thing. That is what she does for and she knows that. So I don't think that my whole issue is.
So then NCW don't know that? Because I think he's a manager. He just managed that team.
Right.
The squad of them, right?
Right. Yes, I think he knows that, but he feels he has to defend not his artist, but his
clients.
His client, you know what I mean? He feels he has to defend them. He has to defend what he was involved in, because if he was the one managing the bookings and bringing her in, then he would obviously feel like he now has to. So he will say he isn't at this point just saying anything to defend his involvement and to defend the individual. Just like the artists do. Whenever you point out that the music is, it could be negatively influencing people, instead of simply saying, all right, bro. All right. But I mean, the reason why they don't do that is because what would be implied, or what somebody will expect you to do next, is change, and they're not prepared to change. So that's why they don't just admit, yes, it's really overdue to the gun, fuck, shoot. I really shouldn't be doing that. I mean, but they don't do that. They come up with all kind of ass talk. Well, that's how we just enjoy ourselves. I do thing, and that what the youths want to hear, and that is not a mother, and that is not a. You understand what I'm saying? But if they have no influence, but if the ministry call them to be part of some ad around carnival time or anything, you know what I mean? They ain't gonna say, no, you go call me. Nobody, no, you still listen to me. You know what I mean? I could say why you want. Nobody in stopping. Well, let's say is a do drink and drive campaign. No artist ain't gonna say, well, me, what are you calling me for? You paying me for them? Nobody will listen to me. People go drink if they want to drink. They don't say that. They run and say, yeah. As a matter of fact, the agent or the manager, whoever, if they're trying to get them booked for the thing, they will say, look how many followers they have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
I mean, so is
a lot of people just trying to justify things because they want to be able to do them. You understand what I'm saying? And not taking accountability.
As I just say, accountability is a major part of the issue in this. And I think there's some that NCW and them had a look at. I mean, right now they going at him hard on well, especially on TikTok. And I know he just normally go into that combative mode when that time reach. And but all I would tell is just stop. Pull back a little bit, do some introspection, some retrospection in some cases, look back and, just say...
And say simply say, hey, listen, I understand where people come from. The woman has built a personality on being not constructive. Let me put it that way, right? She has not built her personality on behaving like a model citizen, right? I use all these euphemisms to not, cast aspersions against the woman, right? And again, I want to make clear, I don't have a problem with her making money off of her personality, right? Once she's not actually not physically, but, verbally encouraging violence, like asking or encouraging people to engage in violence and so on, then all right, once she's as a mobile language kind of woman, all right, well, be a mobile language kind of woman on social media. But when you get called out for the fact that you're like that on social media and you're going and talk to people and just say, all right. Like they have some certain artists who say, listen, my music is not for kids.
Right, yeah.
It's not for kids. I don't make content for kids.
I think Nicki Minaj had come out and said that time, man.
Yeah, might have been. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think Nicki Minaj came out and said that some years ago. Yeah. Then people ask about like
how you stop them from hearing it.
Oh no, they're asking about what do you think about your music and the children, how it affects the children, and she's like, well, for one, I do make make music for children.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that when she had sing the Anaconda song or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, she's like, well, I don't make music for children.
Right.
And if children is hearing my music, that is not on me. That is on the parents and or whoever else.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, right. So you could just simply say that. Say, all right, yeah, I really should be going into schools. Right, so next time you had to book me for other things now. Whatever. I don't know what else she could do, but, book me for other things. Because if she was going in, if it was a corporate, she went as a motivational speaker hired by a company, then the company had that's on them. If that is the person they want to come and talk to their staff, then whatever. But I don't want to, I kind of get sidetracked on the issue of the taking the accountability away from the schools that would have, because it's not her fault. She didn't book herself. Right. Taking the accountability away from the schools who would have booked her. And that's who I want to focus on, not the ministry, because, I like you were mentioning, I don't think it's feasible to have the ministry involved in every single decision like that a school might make. I don't even know if the ministry would have the capabilities to assess everybody, because let's say you wanted to bring somebody from the neighborhood, to speak. How are they gonna investigate that person's background?
They're going to send somebody in the area to ask the neighbors, ask people in the area. So they know this man. What kind of person he is?
You understand what I'm saying? So let's be real. I don't even feel the ministry should get involved in that, right? You would think if you're a school principal, you'd have sound enough judgment to know who to bring in a school or not. So that says a lot about the principals involved here. So I don't want to shift the accountability away from them by saying things like, well, the children already know them. Because the point I wanted to make earlier was that, okay, let's say she arrived and 50 of the students knew her, and 50 of them scream. And the other 400 of them scream because, well, the 50 of them screaming. So she must be somebody important. Or maybe they saw her and they know her face, they know she's some kind of social media influencer or whatever, but they don't follow her content, they really care. It's like me, I've seen her, but you had to tell me what her name was, right? So, but you now as the school, you have now brought her and exposed her to everybody who's there. So, okay, maybe 50 children or 100 children knew she was already, and that's the problem. You know it's too late because they already know. Yeah, but there might have been 400 other students who did not know who she was. And now, they're like, who's that? I'm going to search them up on social media, right? Now, whether or not you want to argue that searching her up is a good, bad, or indifferent thing, but the point is the school is now directly responsible for making a lot of children who were not aware of who she was, aware of who she is now.
I understand your point. I understand. And that's a good point. I mean, there's some... that definitely you gotta look at as well. Is it boy? Probably NCW is such a great manager that when he pitched that boy, the principal and almost didn't go back and look to see.
It could be that the principal didn't know who he was bringing. Maybe the principal knew him.
Right.
Knew of him. Not big on social media. He said he was bringing a team of individuals.
Oh, yeah.
Another individual
who have 100,000 followers.
Right.
And she comes to inspire.
Right.
She come from hard times. And he probably
Right.
pitched it well. He
Right.
probably pitched it well.
Right. Which, I mean, still says, as a principal, you should have more.
But then the minute she will say that, why we can't leave it up to all it. We can't leave it up to all it to do them thing, because clearly.
But I don't think anybody in the ministry is better suited to do it either. But somebody had to be able, again, it's like, oh yeah, principal, bro. Yeah, principal, you can't just do a minor little, because listen, this is not a case of somebody came to, they're known as an influencer, right? They're known as their content is about cooking. Let me say is
Let me just say, there's not Joshua Regello.
Right. I know who he is, but I was trying to see where you were going with that. But the point I make is, it's not like if let's say it was Joshua Regello, right? And you brought him and he played the pan or whatever, but you didn't know that last year he was in some bacchanal, right? Now that has nothing to do with the social media persona,
right?
And you might have had to do a little bit of a background check to find that out. And then he comes and he appears, and then somebody from out of the blue, social media encourage everybody now to be,
detectives.
Hey, Ting, he was doing this, and you invite him to the school. I can understand that, because as a principal, how the ass I was supposed to know he was involved in some bacchanal last year? But no, this person's, if you had done just taking a cursory glance at her social media, you'd have known the individual.
So all right. Is it that they have a staff meeting? Because, or none of the teachers in our staff meeting when that name was mentioned, or it was such a last minute.
It might be that many of the teachers didn't know, and this is the thing that is the most disturbing, but is probably the most likely. They know who she is and don't think there's a problem. And you might be like, what? But listen, the PNM used, what is that man named? Rondo? Remember when they remix his tune? Rondo, Touchdown. Right, that song. Yeah. They remixed that to make a campaign ad. And that played throughout the entirety of the 2020 campaign, and nobody stopped and think, wait, just now. Just now. They could have got the artist to do a different song, right? They could have said, okay, like what they did with Isasha, just make up a song, right? Just make up a PNM song. But they didn't do that. He used, because all they're thinking about is the popularity of that song. Nobody pause and say, hey, brother man, you're calling attention to a tune. Do you really want people to like go and find the original of that song? Do you want to expose more people, more youngsters to that guy's music? But they didn't care. They just thought the principal or whoever just thought the children like them, so bring them.
And probably the principal and them would have scored popularity points by the children. That's what
it probably might have been considering, thinking about, which might have been the most important factor to them. I mean, I remember we had Denise Belfont come and perform in my secondary school.
That's wild.
It's crazy.
That is really wild.
Yes.
Because that was an all-boys school.
Right.
That is very wild.
Yes. And I mean, even if it was a co-ed school, you shouldn't have been encouraging what she would have been encouraging anyway. It's not like because she came to perform during the Carnival Friday thing, not even a disco where other people, like it's a party. No, it was Carnival Friday when they have
Little jump up.
The Calypso competition, and then there's other invited artists. One year we had Alison Hines, another year we had I think we had Terry Seals.
All right.
But at the time we had Saucy Wow. Yeah. And you would think, who on earth would think that's a good idea? Number one is a boys' school, right?
Yeah. Right. I would, if I was in that school, I'd start cussing dog. I'd be like, what's all the weird? I'd been asking teachers and even, what's all the weirdo? What?
No, she wasn't the only person, huh?
But I don't want to see her. Like, you had to bring a lyricist. It's all boys.
Or jump up. Or straight jump up. You can't bring somebody to say, right? I mean, who you going on, right?
Yeah.
And this was...
Or even if it's a school and it's supposed to be airing on anybody, at least let me watch somebody, but I don't want to watch no man, You understand?
And it wasn't back in the day when that could have been. People might have argued that that's okay. That was back in the day when that was not taking place, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but the idea again is anybody again with an iota comes and say, "Whoa, why? You know, so I think the more likely explanation is that they just focus on the fact that she was popular. Maybe she was popular and she came cheap or she came for free.
But do you think it's a situation where the teachers and the principal and they are trying to have a more open relationship and they're trying to connect closer and come down to the youth level to connect? Reason I'm asking that, right, is I remember I was called and asked to come and judge a song clash in a school, right? Mm-hmm. And myself, some other radio personalities, right? Mm-hmm. And
men had played or they just
playing regular songs?
Oh,
right?
Wow. Thinking like children in school have played.
Yeah, nah.
More than one song system in the school have played. That would have teach me.
No, what was real weird to me is they were playing music I never heard before. And that time I was on radio, right?
Yeah.
And some Jed, I guess you call him Chini Bad or whatever you want to call him.
Right.
Thing that I never heard of. We weren't playing on radio.
Yeah.
Grimy tunes though. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, in my time, that would not really been a thing. You understand? And in song clashes are kind of even though it's a music art form, it's still a kind of violent music art form. Mm-hmm. And it could get disrespectful. It could get, and that is not something that I think necessarily you would want children to partake in. Mm-hmm. But it's something that they had in a school.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So
it might be because I've been arguing for the longest while that part of the reason why our society is decaying is because adults don't want to be adults anymore. Adults want to be forever young. And they're so afraid of being regarded as irrelevant that they kind of overhyping youth, right? And instead of playing the role of the adults in the room and trying to guide young people, they're being pushed by young people. They're so desperate to be considered cool kids because they're getting old and they don't want to deal with the fact appropriately with the fact that they're getting old.
Well, I think I want to give some pushback there. I understand that is something that happens as well. But I think we live in a time now where sometimes being the adult in the room, you know, is considered toxic. Like social media and things, they tell you, well, no, like, that's toxic, you know. The adults shouldn't talk down to the children. Not talk down, but, you know, they should listen to you. They should hear you out. They should come down to your level and try to understand you better.
Well, I'm trying to understand is not the problem. I don't think that is not causing any problem. The problem is that people are free to disagree with young people. They venerate young people. We live in a culture where we worship youth. So any idea that comes from the youth, it must be this great thing because it's the youth. You hear people say shit like, you know, in you know, I was listening to something the other day and they were trying to say the words actually came out of the presenter's mouth that, you know, these ideas something to the effect of these ideas must be valid because they're coming from the youth. You know, it's like, when did that become a thing? You know, young people don't know anything. They don't know anything. You know what I mean? They don't know anything. Let's be real. I was once a young person that thought I knew everything, and you know, 40-year-old me now is nothing like 25-year-old me, or worse yet, 18 or 16-year-old me. There was so much I thought I knew then. You know, I couldn't solve any of the world's problems at 16. I didn't know anything, right? And that's not to say that, you know, everything that comes from young people is, you know, obviously or inherently invalid. But we have this kind of, as I say, I know what it is. It's because culture is becoming more youthful. Because back in the day, you know, you look at who was popular on television back in the 80s, 70s, it was always older people. The culture was kind of driven by middle-aged to older people. But as time has gone by, the culture has become more youthful, and you know, the types of music we listen to is not timeless music like before, like R&B or soul music. You know, somebody could have been 18 singing it, or somebody could have been 44 singing it, and it would have been just as popular. Now we have art forms where, you know, after 5 years, they kind of age out. You can't really connect with young people anymore. So everything about our culture is becoming more youthful. So older people feel as if they are very frightened of being pushed out of the door. So they have this. So in to combat that, they kind of put on this super eye for the youths type of attitude, and they kind of, as I said, they venerate young people. They exalt them for sometimes with good reason, oftentimes without. They just want to be cool kids, really badly. You know what I mean? And that's what's leading to the decay of our society.
I think it could possibly be because living in today's world, the old people could feel like the youth know more than them in today's world. You understand?
Right.
So you feel like, good boy, like,
right.
I kind of give them a certain degree of respect or give them a certain amount of leeway because in today's world, they seem like they know more than me.
Because of technology, right? So older people feel like, well, you know, a little boy could use a high-tech device much better than I can, so he know more than me. But and that's what we don't understand. We can't we don't recognize the difference between knowledge and judgment. Young people may have access to a lot more information, but that doesn't mean they have improved judgment, right? That doesn't mean that they know how to evaluate information any better than you can, right? It certainly doesn't mean that they have unique perspectives on how to solve age-old problems.
Well,
These people born yesterday.
Yeah, I'm going to say, think about it. We are living in a world today where young people have the most information, or people have the most information readily available to them, right? More than we would have had when we were growing up. And they have the most problems in their life today.
Yes.
You understand?
Problems have not disappeared. They seem to have multiplied.
Yeah.
Right? And because when you were young, you would have thought, well, you know, once people had, you know, we would do away with all these problems once we had access to proper information, and you know, everybody has access to information, and it doesn't seem to help anybody.
Yeah, because I mean, as they say, experience helps with your judgment. Experience, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence, all these things help to make you a judicious individual, and young people don't have that.
Which
generally,
not to go too far from the point, but it's one of the things somebody was saying about social media the other day, and I watched a video, and then I take some time and I thought about it, and I was like, this makes sense. One of the biggest problems with social media today is that everybody culminating in one realm. But the difference is you have older people with way more knowledge, experience, seeing things a different way, different judgment, right?
Yeah.
Meeting with people who barely know anything in life and feel they know everything.
Right.
Now, before, the younger people used to kind of stick together. You like right? You like with your peers, the older people like with their peers, and me and my peers could discuss certain things. So it come like, I just go and give you a example, right? It come like my bigger daughter, brother and sister, right? They will come here and they could come here, they could sleep, they could eat, they could whatever, right? No, that is not my children, that is, right? That one mother children, right?
Yeah.
And there are young persons here, and they're like, but they're asking, but how you loving that? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
How you could, you understand? The mother children,
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And from a younger person, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Because you're supposed to have a certain amount of dislike or whatever for your ex, you know?
Yeah.
And you know,
because that's the world they live in. Where ex is rab with your ex, you can't have any kind of cordial relationship.
Right, because you're still at that place as a youth or whatever, maybe.
Right.
But me as an adult now, matters not. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
If that ex call me and need help or whatever, my wife would go and help her if needs be. You understand what I'm saying? Or do something for her. But that is because we have a certain amount of age, understanding, and whatever over time. And the problem now with social media is that me making statements like that, with younger people who barely know anything, we all meet in the same place, and them as rab,
right?
And so,
and to the point I was making, that's a insightful point there. What is happening is that the older people, because they feel like they're in the young people zone and they're in the young people world, they don't want to get left out, so they just side in with the young people. They're not correcting them. They're not attempting to when we were younger, older people tried their best to influence you to adhere to particular standards, right? Traditionally normative behavior. Then, not right now, adults are afraid to enforce that. We're afraid to even advise people to go down that route because that old fashioned and that 19 thing. And now, humans have existed for millennia, right? You ain't come today and figure out how to bring about the utopia, right? People have been thinking about how to bring about utopia for a gazillion years, right? They've tried everything under the sun. They've tried every ideology, everything you think is the crack for the code. Everything you think, if we do that, then everything will be great. It's been tried before and it failed, right? Traditional values, traditional modes of behavior developed over time because society has realized, okay, these are the kinds of, when we uphold these values, when we operate in these ways, we tend to keep, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. Not saying it doesn't cause some strife, some heartache, some pain, but generally, when we look at the trade-offs, this is how we tend to maintain a civil society. But somebody born yesterday will read some book that was created a millennia ago, or at least, or read about an ideology that was, tried a millennia ago, and they are convinced, well, boy, I have the key, and I can now lecture the rest of the world. I could lecture somebody who's 90 years old about, how humans behave and how they won't behave. And the problem is that it used to be that 90-year-old, hey, you don't know nothing, you're talking shit, right? But the problem is that today, the 90-year-old is just so desperate. Well, not 90-year-olds, they tend not to care, but the 50-year-olds, the 40-year-olds, the 30-something-year-olds, they're like, well, they want to be down with the cool kids. Like, yeah, let's listen to them. They have the ideas. And it's like, how about we just discuss ideas in general? We listen to young people. We try to understand them, but then we try to point out some of the flaws in their ways of thinking. And through that, we have the proverbial battle of ideas, and the best ideas win. How about that? But that's not what we do. And we live in this kind of world where older people are so desperate to be liked by young people that young people are leading the adults in the room straight off the cliff. And
I guess this topic or this here presents a good segue into the topic with the Archbishop and the Pope and them.
Right. Right.
You understand?
I don't know how that's a good segue, but it's a segue nonetheless, right?
Because think about it, right? Years ago, and obviously when they had, when they was pushing the Bible thing and the Bible teachings or whatever the case may be, they would have
oh, okay, right, I see where you're coming from.
They would have pushed out that LBGT, that homosexuality thing totally out. Like, hey, that garbage, that rubbish, you understand? Right. But now then people come and say, well, here what's going on. Right. It's wrong, but you understand what I'm saying?
Softening the stance.
Right. And it seems like they're doing it to be accepted.
You're 100% correct.
I think is to be accepted, one, and two, listen, the more people that come to church, the more money could go in the kitchen voice. Well, the more tithes could pay. That, in my opinion, that's what I think.
I don't think that. I don't even wonder. I wonder if they would actually deny that at this stage, because everything about the church has become political. Not just the Catholic Church, but many churches across the world. It's become a battle for congregation members. Okay, I understand now what you mean by ideal segue, because again, you would hear people in the church, and not just the Catholic Church, but Christian denominations in general, would kind of say things like, well, we live in a different time, and to communicate with the young people, you need to have a different stance. And in my view, I am not a religious person. I want to make that clear before we start to talk. I'm not a religious person. I'm not here to defend. I'm not interested in defending Catholicism, the Catholic Church, priests, or anybody from any religion for that matter. But so let me make that clear. So I'm not a religious person, but I would think that if I was, I would be that way because I feel religion is timeless. It's a truth that would last forever.
That's just a whole steadfast to what it is.
Yeah. So the omnipotent being that created this theology didn't envision that people would become weird years later. You know what I mean? So he thought he would have left wiggle room for for reinterpretation of his laws. Come on, dog. I mean, what are we talking about here? So, but they are doing that because they see the numbers dwindling, and the only way they feel like they have to, bend over backwards to encourage young people to come to the church. Now, if the again, I apologize for not seeing your point in terms of the segue, because the church would have been the adult in the room before to say, hey, I don't care what you think is cool.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this
is the way.
This is the way, the truth, and light.
And
right?
exactly, and that is how we knew the church to be for many years.
Right.
And they would always say, God don't care about your feelings.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? That's what I know it to be. God don't care about your feelings.
Yes.
This is the word, this is how things supposed to be.
Yes.
Right? And it doesn't matter how you feel about it.
Yes.
You don't have to like it or not like it. This is the way it is.
Yes. And this is the way it is, and following this is what is going to lead you to salvation. What will lead you to true happiness. It's not even about forcing you to do this because, we like to crack our whip and make you follow rules. Is that we are teaching you the way to salvation. This is saving your soul here. This is not just talking about your life on this earth. This is about saving your soul. This is about eternal life. If I truly believed that upholding particular principles and living a particular lifestyle is the way to ensure that people safeguard their eternity, then I don't care what whims and fancies, what social norms change. Nah, this is the eternity you're talking about. You want to stay in purgatory, or I don't even know the exact theology, right? But you want to stay in purgatory, or you want to go to hell? Nah, bro. Then this is and not only will it bring you, would it bring you happiness in the afterlife if you truly accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior and live by His word. You will be filled with joy here on earth. Right? So it doesn't, again, if this were true and if they really believe that, then they wouldn't back down on this stance. They wouldn't we used to say this, but now we're saying that. But it just goes to prove the reason why I'm not a religious person is all of this is man-made. Or in my opinion, humble opinion, all of this is man-made. And just like the church ain't no different to a political party who will just change the tune to get votes, right? If tomorrow, and the problem for them is that we live in a culture that is very wishy-washy, right? There's parts of the world where this is not the case, huh? Eastern cultures and, places where other religions might be more popular, where, they aren't changing as the wind blows, right? But they live. These are religions that predominate in the Western world, and the Western world is one where
anything goes.
Fashion, as norms change, everything have to change. Everything else has to change.
Need an agenda,
right? You understand? So anyway, the reason why I sent this here and I thought I wanted to talk about it, well, it is so indicative of the times we live in, and we got to that topic before we even got here. But because CNC3 tweeted out that article, right, with a caption, trying to find it here, right. Archbishop Jason Gordon is being told to stop calling members of the LGBTQ plus community sinners, even if he stands with the Pope's position that homosexual acts should not be criminalized. Right. Now, kudos to CNC3 for that caption on the tweet, because that made me click the article. And you know why I clicked the article, Naldo? Because Archbishop Jason Gordon is being told to stop calling. Who is telling the Archbishop to stop calling people sinners? Who would think they have the authority to tell an Archbishop who he should or should not refer to as a sinner? And I just said to myself, boy, oh boy, this is, if anything tells you that you're living in 2023, it's this headline. The narcissism that has to go behind a statement like that to tell a clergyman, right? I would think the only person who could tell him or the Pope or anybody who to classify as sinners would be God. Or, okay, maybe if the Archbishop was being told that by the Pope, and the Pope was saying, I'm telling you this because you are misconstruing the word, right? So you are actually misinterpreting, misunderstanding, misappropriating the words of the Lord, and therefore you need to stop saying that, then that's fine. But it's not the Pope telling him that. It's not even a theologian, right? Nobody who is schooled in theology who decided to tell him, hey, I'm taking you up on the fact that no, it's just somebody who says, I find you shouldn't call them sinners.
Well, fine. Should call them or should call us?
Well, we, right. Call us, call we, call who, right? And listen, again, this Jason Gordon, this Archbishop, I have zero time frame, during the COVID pandemic, he showed me that he was far more of a political figure than a religious figure. I have no regard for him in any way, shape, or form. I don't rate the man, right? So again, this is not a defense of him because I don't rate the brother, right? But, last week you was telling me about some video Nicki Minaj put out and people had a problem with the girls she had in the video, And, I remember thinking to myself, imagine that, but you reach an age and reach a stage where people feel they have the authority to rap with an artist about who she choose to put in her. Like, when did we begin to think that our opinions mattered so goddamn much? You know what I mean? She has done a video. She has chosen whoever she wanted to choose and to put in the video. Okay, you like it, dislike it, move on with your life. But you want to start some rap because she needs to take your feelings into consideration. And when she is choosing who she puts in her video, right? But again, this is where we live in now. So anyway, let me read a little bit of the article because it's serious. Archbishop Jason Gordon is being told to stop calling members of the LGBTQ plus community sinners, even if he stands with the Pope's position that homosexual acts should not be criminalized. Speaking on the Our Independency radio program with Garth Sinclair, big up Garth and Natasha, by the way, and Natasha Nunez on Sunday evening. When I started to read it, I was like, oh God, don't tell me Garth say that now. Because I go, Garth is my brethren, I go feel real off having to, either him or Natasha, right? To be like, to disagree with them so vehemently now. But anyway, it wasn't them, thankfully, right? Addressing reporters, blah, let me not read all that, right? He says, right, the Archbishop said in contextualizing the Pope's comments, Archbishop Gordon said, we've said for a long time, hate the sin and not the sinner. The Archbishop said, while civilization has realized that the act of sodomy is morally wrong, whether or not it should be a capital crime is a whole other story. And he goes on to say, basically telling the difference between whether it should be morally accepted or considered a crime. Right. But human rights activist Jason Jones yesterday said the church has no place in this discussion.
No, I would agree the church have no place in discussion of whether it's a crime or not. Because church and state should be separate. Right?
Well, but they aren't speaking...
I don't want to say I would agree with that part. So this next part, is like, what? I mean, you're telling the church not to say...
not to
see whether something is a sin
or not. Not to speak on the moral value of an act. Isn't that the church's entire reason for existence? What are you telling me, right? But again, you will see what is really at play here. What happens between two consenting adults in the privacy of the bedroom is not a matter for the church. Again, the church not telling you whether you could do it or shouldn't do it. They're simply saying, I have an opinion on the act itself. And people have opinions about everything. I can have an opinion about what people do in the privacy of their own home. I could share that opinion. I could keep it to myself. But I don't have a right to stop you from doing it.
Right.
Right? That's where it stops. But you can't tell me. First of all, you can't tell me what I should have an opinion on or not.
Right.
That's the first thing, right? And secondly, the church has an opinion on fornication. So you tell me they shouldn't have an opinion on that
neither.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, the church has an opinion. If you choose to lie, you are doing that in the privacy of your own home. And you might be lying to somebody who doesn't care that you're lying. So the church shouldn't have an opinion on that either, because it's two individuals doing it in the privacy of their own home. Once a Catholic priest uses the term hate, I switch off, because if you are trying to say it shouldn't be illegal, but we hate the sin, then you're still condemning us, and we don't have any time for that, he said. Now, this part is the part that really I wanted to hone in on, right? Because this is where our society is heading for a real clash soon. Thankfully, in Trinidad and Tobago, we aren't, knee deep in the culture war like they are in other parts of the world, right? And hopefully we never get there. But it's because of things like this that we can't get there. That we might get there. People willfully misunderstanding what other people are saying so that they can advance their own agenda.
Well, is it willfully misunderstanding or willfully misrepresenting? You understand? I feel like someone must hear it, but say, nah, here we on. The only way for this to actually be a trigger is for me to turn these words around in a different way.
True.
I think some of them they damn well understand, no?
Right.
But they're so mischievous if you
right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I mean, it may be mischievous, or it may again be narcissistic. Because what he's really trying to say is, you shouldn't be allowed to have negative feelings about what I do. And that is not something that, as far as I'm aware, any constitution and any party planet allows anybody. I cannot condemn whether it's an innate quality, it's an immutable quality of mine, or it's something that I choose to do. I do not have the right to tell people you cannot have a negative opinion of me, my looks, my behavior, any part of me. What you are not allowed to do is to prevent me from living my life.
Right.
Right? But I cannot sit here and tell you, Naldo,
it's as simple as this. And this might seem like a simplifying it, but this is what happens, right? You would pass and see somebody paint their house in a weird color and be like, why I really do like that color.
Yeah.
And people want to tell you, well, it's not up to you to like it.
Yeah.
Hold on. Me tell you paint over your house, I just say, I don't like the color.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah,
I could have that opinion.
You're right,
but
exactly.
people have this thing now, well, you ain't have to, and even if you don't like it, you'd rather say nothing.
Yeah. But if I liked it, you want to hear that opinion. I can't remember who said this, but what is really at play here is when you can't control your emotions, you seek to control my behavior. So you can't deal with negative opinion, so you then try to silence all of it. Because even if the church could say, the church could give you a 15-minute speech about how we are not interested in condemning anybody. We are not out to hate anybody. Members of that community can enter the church at any point in time. We will treat them with love and respect. And, you hate the sinner, but not the sin. And you could understand that in any other context, right? In any other, I could hate what my child does, but I still love my child. You understand what I'm saying? I might hate the things that my child might like, but I still love my child. You understand? I still show we could disagree on certain issues
But to be fair though, I think you've seen a lot of that, even right here in Trinidad now. You understand what I'm saying? In terms of, and it's a point I would make with the TikTok videos. We would post something, right? With an opinion. And people would attack us. You understand what I'm saying? Instead of the point.
Right.
And that's the way people thinking now.
Yes.
I don't like what I'm saying. Them is asshole. Or let's aim, so let's stupid, or let's this, or let's that.
Not a single argument involved. They haven't leveled a sensible argument against what you've said, yet.
But it's just, you hate the person,
yes.
boy.
What happens? You have invoked negative emotions in me, and I can't control those emotions. So now I have to lash out. Right? I have to lash out. Instead of me seeking to just deal constructively with negative opinions, That's used to be what you were told, right? You know, the whole sticks and stones might, right? That's what we used to be trained to do to deal with some of the negativity that, because inherently we knew we could never create a world where nobody would be offended. You understand? And because even in this world where these people feel we're heading towards that world now, right? But they don't even understand that when they say, you just think you're the one that shouldn't be offended. But when you say things, it offends other people.
Yeah.
You understand? You may be saying things that are offending members of the church, but you don't care about them because in your mind, they don't deserve the same respect you deserve. Which is funny coming from somebody who would just be arguing 10 seconds before that we should all treat everybody with respect. And so what it is that we are being encouraged to not control our emotions, but to control other people.
Yeah, to try and control.
And that's why what I'm saying is we head in for problems because when people say things like that, because that argument where, well, once you say anything negative about me, what they do is they extrapolate it. They say, well, you mightn't mean harm, but somebody else might mean harm. Somebody else might take that now and hear what you're saying and that will now support his or her negative attitude towards people. And they now might pick up a firearm or a cutlass and want to do harm. So you can't say what you to say. Even though you're saying it, not from a place of hate, you're not saying it in an attempt to offend anybody. You may simply be saying something that is true. Right? And you're saying it because you think it needs to be said. You're not trying to hurt, harm, and you could say that you could say that for like 10 minutes before you say that one thing that bothers them, and they don't care. They're going to say, you can't say that because even if you don't mean it in a bad way, somebody else might mean it in a bad way. But we don't do that in any other context. In certain countries, I could think of some African countries, despotic nations, where there's a lot of political violence. It doesn't take much for things to pop off. Certain politicians come into power, and the first thing they do is they seek to suppress political dissent. And the argument that they always use is that, well, listen, we live in a country where political violence is easy, and it's easy for things to spark off, right? So we can't allow people to go about saying negative things about the government because you could go and lie and say some politician is thieving money from somewhere or some people somewhere, and people could spread that lie, and tomorrow you could have 1 million people in the street.
Anarchy and chaos. So
so you can have 1 million people in the street with machetes. So we can have that. But then that could also be a convenient way for you to be able to do shit.
Yeah, and to stay in power. So I can't ever criticize.
So you are now going to lump crazy, we saw that recently with COVID, right? You lump crazy conspiracy theories in with legitimate concern and then just ban it all, right? But is that the society we want to live in? Is it so we can't have any legitimate discussion? We can't say, well, listen, I simply disagree. I don't mean you any harm. I am certainly not encouraging anybody to go out and do you any harm, right? I am not going to apologize for making reasonable statements. If somebody takes those reasonable statements and gets unreasonable with them, it's not my fault. It's not what I'm here to do. We as a society, we can simply set some ground rules, how we are going to engage with individuals, the types of behavior that you're going to display, how we're going to deal with disagreements, and then we carry on. It's not going to be perfect, but we can't have a society where, all right, I don't want to hear nothing negative said about me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to classify anything you say as something that could lead to violence against me. And so you can't talk.
But then you would allow it to happen to Muslims. And you who want to talk about justice and fairness to everybody, you'll watch it happen to Muslims, you watch it happen to black people, you watch it happen to white people. You understand?
Yeah. I remember a guy was using an example to illustrate the same point I was making. And he was saying, the argument is always, well, if you say this, it could lead to negative consequences. I think he was talking about the transgender thing, right? And he was specifically speaking about trans athletes, not, he believes they shouldn't be allowed to compete, right? And he was saying that, people he would have that conversation with a lot of people, and they would agree. They would say things like, "Yeah, I kind of understand what you're saying," but then they would say, "Yeah, but then these, when you say these things, it you might mean anything, but it violates that person's sense of self, and so many of these people go on to commit suicide. So you shouldn't. In other words, you shouldn't. Even if you believe that, you should keep it to yourself, because saying it could lead to some individual committing suicide." But then he said, "But okay, war veterans commit suicide at a high rate. But so does that mean we shouldn't criticize war?" So when activists thought that the Vietnamese War was an unfair war, imagine you had soldiers coming back from Vietnam with all sorts of conditions, PTSD, this, that, the other. How do you think it made them feel after they, sacrificed their life over there, or put their life at risk, and now their mental state is in a disarray, and you are here criticizing the war, talking about how the government didn't have a right to go there, and spitting on the spitting at the on the tarmac when the planes would return with the soldiers. That could cause harm to them, but you feel that world peace is a cause worthy of protesting. You feel it's legitimate to criticize a government engaging in an illegal war, but you don't think about how that might affect a veteran who just came back from that war, a soldier who dedicated his entire life. Because ultimately, you aren't saying that for that soldier to kill himself. You are saying that because you want the government to make a change. So are we going to say, well, we can't criticize war because if you criticize war, that could lead to a vet killing himself? Or that might offend soldiers who give their lives for war? No. The point is we have to be able to speak about things, and we're going to try to make it as respectful as possible so that we don't harm people unnecessarily. But we can't live in a world where, I don't want to hear that, because if you say that, at some point, somewhere down the line, somebody might jump off a bridge because of what you say. Really?
So just do say nothing.
So even if what I'm saying is true, I have to lie, I have to pretend I don't see what I see, I have to pretend, you know what I mean? Is that, and where does that lead? And the reason why I say it could lead to a real explosion is because that can't last for long.
Yeah, and I telling people, I wait, and I think I would see all the backlash and all the, I would see get to correct itself in my time, right, being on the face of this. I really think so. I think people are going to eventually, I'm not going to put this anymore.
Yeah.
And people are going to start to behave
out of time.
Yeah, and to get wild.
And that's the thing, because if you start saying things that the Archbishop can't say what's sin, come on, dog. Come on, dog. Now we reach a stage where you are looking for people to have zero regard for you and your opinion. And now what you want unreasonable behavior? Well, you may very well get it.
Yeah.
When that is the time.
Because the thing is, it will move from we tolerate all later. Nah, dog. Nah. We want no part all, You understand what I'm saying?
If you can't simply understand that the church is saying to you, bro, according to our teachings, that's a sin. You could say you don't believe in God, and sin don't mean nothing to you. You understand what I'm saying? If the church said tomorrow podcasting is a sin, I couldn't give a rat's ass, bro, because I don't care about the church. You understand? And I know that podcasting is fine. So now the difference there says, yeah, but you don't live in a society where, the majority of people just come down on you for being a podcaster. True. However, if the church is saying respectfully that they believe podcasting is a sin, then I can't hold them responsible for somebody who might, when I go outside, a man pelt a big stone behind me because I'm a podcaster. That is not the church fault. The church is saying unequivocally, do not harm podcasters. Love podcasters. Encourage podcasters into your home, into your church, into your community.
But hate podcasts.
Right? Don't listen to podcasts. Right? So when I go outside, a man fling a big stone behind my head, I can't say the church caused that, because the church is not doing that. The church is not inciting that. And we know that they're not inciting that because they've just said it unequivocally.
Yeah, and they keep on saying that. At the end of the day, you gotta love everybody, love God. They are God children too.
Right.
You have to love them.
And the thing is, some of them might point to examples. Yeah, but there are people who go into church who don't feel so. Well, yeah, but I think they also don't listen to the church's teachings on many other things, right? Imagine if fornicators were to start to behave the same way. Fornicators just go to church every Sunday and probably hear a pastor or a priest castigate them for their acts of sin. Listen, I fed up come here and how you take me. This is my way of life, you know, bro. So stop calling that sin and move on now. Move on to something else. No, you're deep, okay, it's either done with the church or you recognize, well, I just sin, but I ain't stopping. I living unrepentantly in sin.
Fornicators, drunkards,
liars,
because
thieves.
Let me be real, dog. Ash Wednesday. Real people, let's go.
Exactly. Every time the church condemns sin, they're talking to people. The 99.99, in fact 100% of the congregation is in one way, shape or form a sinner, and would all be told that something that they like to do on a daily basis, that they feel is some inborn part of them, is a sin, and they move on with life. Right? They don't say, hey, stop calling that sin. No, because they listen to the greater part of the message, which is, I am here to receive God's grace.
But, hey, them weirdos and them, shouldn't call them weirdos.
Yes, I believe it should. I really think it shouldn't do that.
Well, I think...
I really... No, okay, if it...
I'm not talking about the LGBT community. I'm talking about the
activists.
I'm talking about the people who does hear things and misconstrue it for spite and...
The activists.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Well, not all the activists, but the ones who does...
Right.
Yeah, make problems.
The dishonest ones.
Yeah, I think you're weirdo for doing that. I think, you understand? For purposely looking to make rab. Yeah, I think...
If we truly want to achieve a harmonious society, bro, it's a give and take. We can't. No one group in the society could want to have dominion over the rest and dictate the pace. Everybody has to step in line with. We keep saying we want to live and let live society, but that's not really what we want. We want I want to dominate you, so you live the way I want you to live. Kinda.
But look at that, boy. That ain't interesting, because normally they say it's the 1% is controlling the the world. Right? And them come like a 1% that trying to control the world and next year now, think about it. Well, so they probably trying to change the dynamics of who
they
rule
always
the world.
say if you want to know who you're ruled by, then look to see who you can't criticize. Right? So some of the groups
who said I can't
no, brother.
But Kanye did say that too.
Oh, he did? Well, I didn't. I didn't. I wasn't aware of that.
With the Jews.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
True. So it's just funny that so many people claim to be oppressed in our society, but criticizing them, and I'm not just referring to LGBT people.
I can't know what the thing Beanie Man line there, no.
What's that?
Do you know about it? I know you were.
You insist that we had to get cancelled.
No, but why I say that? No, I just that Beanie Man line. That's not my line.
Insist we had to get cancelled. All right, brother man. I ain't following you all the way down the road, but I will say that I'm not just talking about that group, right? It is hard for me to understand how you could claim to live as an oppressed class in a society where whenever your grievances are addressed first before all others. And I could identify one group in particular that I think it is the most relevant with, and that's women. Women are simultaneously, or they will wanted to believe that they are simultaneously the most oppressed but the most powerful group in our society. They are strong and invincible, but still somehow manage to be, subjugated on a daily basis. You know what I mean? And also, again, see how easily or how quickly you could lose your position in this life by making sexist remarks towards women. You understand? You could look how many sportscasters have either had completely lost their jobs or had to be kind of grovel to remain because they made slightly off color comments that weren't meant to be sex. John McEnroe made a statement that was, 100%. And it's only because he was John McEnroe why he managed to have a career after as a sportscaster.
Well, they killed Chris Gayle career and all boy dog boy.
Nah, that didn't kill Chris Gayle. That didn't kill Chris Gayle.
Nah, but while him for a while. That while him for a while. And he had get banned for some games and thing.
Yeah, I know. Was he banned, boy?
Yeah, he get banned for some games, like 2-3 games or something like that.
Nah.
Yeah.
While people could simultaneously pull tons of video footage of female reporters, making
all kind of advances
comments towards male athletes and no issues. So again, as I say, if you want to know who ruling over you, then look at who you can't criticize. Who are the people who you're afraid just listen to the radio? And third base, you're on the Freedom Station now.
Serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? And he's trying to have a discussion about the HTC tenants now who get bought, who going to be relocated or whatever, right? And a man call in and bring up some kind of LGBT talk there. And hey, woo. Nah, he cut out off one time. A man call in after and say, hey, boy, I'm glad you cut off that conversation because, them people, nah, we can't support them kind of thing. And he say, hey, I never said that. I am just saying where he was trying to go with that conversation, I not trying to go there. I staying far from that. And you move on. So, how subjugated can you really claim to be in a society where everybody's afraid to say something that could... Now, listen, I don't want to pretend that there aren't issues. Eh? You know what I mean? That people mightn't face being shunned. Some people might still face, violent attacks. I wouldn't doubt that happens. I'm not, I don't see it. I will be honest and say I used to see it when I was younger. I don't see it now, but fine. But at the same time, bro, I think you need to use a different term than oppressed. Say there's some issues in our society that need to be addressed. But you can't really be an oppressed class.
They really boys don't use the extreme terms. The terms that could kind of pull at your heartstrings.
Right.
The terms that could invoke emotion.
Yeah.
You understand? When they say oppressed, oh God.
Yeah.
You understand? It's like slavery.
Yeah. And that's the thing, people, sometimes it works against you because people who might say, but this is nothing like slavery and that is oppression. Or
yeah, well, I mean, here, I think, oh gosh, boy, Dave Chappelle was saying that at the end of the day, all they talking about all the thing, but what we doing? We ignoring what black people have been through in America. We ignoring the black cry. Right. You all went through more than us.
Yes. Exactly.
And it's just to try to cancel him. So.
Yep. And that's all right. Before you go forward, I just want to point out where you say there. It has a nugget in there, When you can't even pull the race card and have it trump that.
Yeah.
When Dave Chappelle couldn't even pull the race card, bro. He tried to. He tried to pull that race card. He tried to think you could tell me about being oppressed, and it still couldn't. No, I mean he's still out there making his money, but he hasn't been forgiven, and there's still a whole lot of people who are insistent that he be removed from the Netflix platform, and he's faced a lot of backlash. So the race card and all that.
You remember the venue he was supposed to have a show canceled on the same day.
Yeah. So you can't even pull in Ace. That is like my ace in that deck, boy.
Yeah. I mean, wait a big grand shop. Not shop. That is a all fours.
Yeah.
Terminology.
Pinnacle, I think they call it in the States.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, dog. Even post George Floyd.
Yeah.
In the midst of that, dog, you still can't pull the race card and trump that LGBT thing, boy. So it's serious. It's serious. That says something.
But I also think, and I don't want to go into this much longer, I also think that is why a lot of people fly in that flag now. I think there are some people in the States especially, probably some people, a little bit of people here, who you might not have been popular, might have been ridiculed when you were younger, bullied or whatever the case may be. and then they realize this is a layer of protection.
Right.
If I join this community, because let me, it's that people who join in the community, right? And
not changing the behavior
and not
in any way,
changing,
shape,
yeah. But
yeah.
but they find themselves attaching to something in the community, right?
From what I understand, plenty of them using the term queer because queer have no kind of definition now, so you can kind of claim anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you don't have to change the way you dress. You don't have to necessarily change who you associate with or who you might copulate with, but you can just call yourself queer. You know what I mean?
And then bam, is a layer of protection.
Yeah.
So I think the LGBT community need to look at that.
When people join in the community voluntarily, you know what I mean? When people line up to join the community, you kind of have to wonder, am I the oppressed group here? Am I really the oppressed group?
When people looking to hop on their chin.
Yeah,
you understand?
Yeah. When the bandwagon getting long, you might want to change that terminology around a little bit.
Or have some different kind of pre-qualifiers and requirements.
I'll put somebody by the gate now, man, because anybody joining right now, I see watching something the other day, and a guy was saying he met a girl the other day who defined herself as queer, right? And he was like, I wasn't sure what that meant. So he's like, oh, okay, so what you're like, does that mean bisexual, like men and women? And she's like, well, no, I like men. And he's like, oh, okay, so is it that your gender is in question or something? And she's like, no. She's like, so what makes you queer? And then she gave him some kind of weird explanation, and he's like, well, I just left it there because if I asked any more questions, I might be like, she might think I was harassing she, or she might call me an oppressor, you know what I mean? So they're just letting anybody in the gate now.
God, boy, from this topic, boy, the touch on that taxation thing, boy.
Listen, we could end it off with some ways called as you know, Gab and Jules are.
Nah.
That's two ESPN presenters, right? They have a podcast and they have a element to it where it's called Quick Hits, right? Where we just call a topic, you say you want to say, I say, I say.
Right.
So we usually Quick Hits segment of the podcast.
All right, Quick Hits. So we Quick Hits. For the one that caught my attention, I found to be pretty hilarious, is the Kamala response to, or the opposition response to the human trafficking situation.
Yes.
I think the response was funny. I think also, you know, just funny for them to highlight that, hold on. Well, they're talking to us about human trafficking and you could open the papers on any one of the newspapers and see Latinas and Spanish and whatever for rent. You know what I'm saying? And nobody in calling them and setting up a little sting.
Oh no, and not just that. Nobody's calling out the media houses that take the money, the advertising money from these people. They don't ask no question. Where you want to advertise? Because it's in classifieds we talking about, right? So you know where you want to advertise. You have to send in the text, right? I've placed classified ads before. Yeah. Back when before they used to take it electronically, so you had to go into. In my instance, I went to Express House and you had to write down what you wanted. Yeah. And so
you charge you per word.
Right. Or per letter, I think it was at the time. And so you ain't asking these people, hey, police here, what's going on? We keep getting these people coming in to advertise. You might want that as evidence. Yeah. Or they don't refuse the advertising money. Right? Which is the point that we should read it. This was part of the release, right? And it's quoted as the opposition leader Kamala Prasad Bisesa making the statement. TTPS investigation into human trafficking is welcomed. TTPS must also investigate media houses that may be enabling human trafficking. The investigation should also extend to pedophile allegations in both Sabga and Judith Jones reports. I condemn human trafficking as a vile scourge and evil in our society, and all those who enable it should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. So that was, I don't know if it was the entirety of the release, but it's certainly at least a important part of it. So yeah. So she was saying we should investigate the media houses too.
Investigate me. Yeah. Well, they investigate everybody.
Not me.
Not me. But she is saying investigate her team, whoever, or they are investigating within the UNC, whoever. Right? But they investigate everybody. You understand? If we play an Inspector Gadget or whoever out there, Sherlock Holmes.
If you play in Colombo,
right?
If you play in Colombo, then yes, extend all that investigating to the media houses.
And the thing is, So police don't read papers. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so yeah, that one was funny.
What killing me now is a man said me today TTT post something from some of the ministries talking about treating the migrant workers properly now, boy. Yeah. So I guess I don't know if that going because it's just so shame that it happened around the same time, you know? Coming out of this discussion.
Right.
So I like, okay. And I am in no way trying to say migrant workers don't want to, shit. But I still confused as to they had a 1 year and then they got a 6 months extension. I didn't get a memo when the extension went to 3 years. I didn't get that memo.
Well, we don't know. It may not be the same individuals. Those individuals may very well have gone back, and these are
a new batch.
New individuals.
But it's not, it can't be a new batch because they didn't issue work permits to the new batch.
True.
So that could be a bit problematic.
But remember, they could come here and work for, I think it's 6 months without a permit. So we don't know. It could be batches coming and going. They're doing the 6 months or the whatever. And then they're pressing and coming back. And the different ones coming back.
But
you monitoring them? I'm not monitoring them. The question is if they monitoring them.
The thing is, like, two of them tried to set me up in Price Mart last night, boy.
What do you mean?
2 Spanish, boy. I am in Price Mart with my family. And 2 Spanish women used to see me and hail me out big. I start to wave, you know. And I just like, hi, I start to wave too. And now my entire family is watching me like, you know them? You understand? I don't know them.
Yes, we frequenting the classifiers.
You understand what I'm saying? I swear. Well, they're really trying to tie me up with this UNC thing, my dog, boy.
You just be responding to them ads. You just be calling.
I see, bro. This is what. Right.
Quick hit number 2. The residence folks on them, boy.
Yeah, boy.
So they get off.
Yeah.
Released. It was in the papers this week here. Nightclub manager and staff freed of 2021 COVID-19 regulation charges.
Yeah.
In her ruling, she noted that lack of a clear definition of public place. This is the ruling of the High Court judge, whomever it is, made lady judgment. In her ruling, she noted that lack of a clear definition of a public place and determined that the residence was not considered one on the night in question. She also said there was no evidence that the bottles, cups, and glasses contained alcohol, because that was another element of the charge, that they were serving alcohol when they were supposed to be. As their contents were not tested. And nor was there evidence that any of the 9 provided anyone with alcohol. So these charges were also dismissed. So they didn't charge these people, these big money people, and some not so big money people, because the DJs were also involved, right? The question is now, when these people get the charges dismissed, bro. I mean, to be fair, these are, charges that would have come with a much heavier penalty than a mask fine, right? Mm-hmm. Will you think anybody gonna pay mask fine now?
Well, what I would say is that they definitely haven't forgotten about the mask fines, because I got a call from the court late last year, right? Just give me an update on the situation that it coming around at some point. They didn't start to issue dates something yet.
Right.
So it doesn't look like they reach the point of forgetting it or forgiving it. I didn't want to say forgiven because
it make you feel like you did something wrong in the first place.
Right? Yeah. So I didn't want to say that. But I mean, is it that we need to start a class action situation here now that if we could allow them and let me forget everybody who are mask. Stop that shit. Lock it off. You understand? Everybody have a mask ticket. You understand? Let's just drop down and press on with life.
I think they might be trying to see if they could extract some money from you still. Like frightening into thinking that, hey, we didn't forget about this. Your time coming along again, and they could get the increased penalty if you didn't pay the, because did they mention to you that you could still pay the ticket? Oh, okay. I
think they know not to mention that to me, because they make sure and say, we'll be in contact with a lawyer.
Okay, yeah. Right. because you had registered
Yeah.
a lawyer on your case. All right. Well, yeah, but I still think that's what it might be to push people into paying because they were trying to extract money from you.
So what you're saying is that different from my tax?
Yeah, isn't everything these days just tax? Just trying to extract money from the citizenry.
Hey, you know, talking about one day we had to discuss that double taxation that take place in this country.
Not just in this country, that's everywhere.
Well,
well, not everywhere, but
Yeah.
in many places, yes. In the States, it's worse. Yeah, but yeah, we'll talk about that.
but yeah, some other time. But talking about tax, there's a story I read sometime last week, and I've been honest with you, that one touched me because you remember I tell you I asked you this taxation if people get killed and people being hassled for tax money if you have a small business and you know people
right
pressuring you for
right.
they didn't even say protection.
Racketeering.
They didn't even say protection because sometimes people said kind of I didn't want to say disguise it as protection, but you said call it protection.
Yeah.
Right? And I saw the story and I was like, wow, boy, dog, boy. No, if you read the story, it'd be somewhere wrong. It's a St. Augustine woman who they say was murdered for tax.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, I could never know the whole story because what we get in the story is obviously what somebody give. And they say that the woman was begging, the woman
was on her knees pleading for her life.
Yeah, pleading for her life and still she get off. Now, the thing that bothered me in that story is that after all of that, right? And the person who wrote the story was interviewing some police person, I can't remember it was some ACP or whatever, right? And the police person said, we as the police, we are telling you, don't pay them the money. Come to us. And I'm like, what? They are killing people for not paying them.
Right.
Why would you tell them not to pay them? No, obviously, you don't want people to be having to be paying people. But clearly, if they're killing people who are not paying them, you understand?
Right.
And think you think if they don't pay and then go on to and then you remember in that same story, there were allegations that they were saying that when they go to the police station and make reports, it was coming back to the gangster men or the bad people.
Right.
All right? That people came and made reports on them.
Yeah.
So you are telling people now, don't pay and come and make reports.
And not only that, but what would making a report do? Because the police are going to tell you that unless you you record the person making a threatening statement, and even a threatening statement, I mean, it would be legal, but they're not going to act on a man coming and verbally threatening you. The man had to brandish a tool or something, and even then, it's going to be difficult to build a case from. They just can't build cases when they have 10,000 witnesses and all kind of shit.
In domestic violence situations, they can be catching it in the bill case.
Right, you understand what I'm saying? So when I go and report, hey, a man come by me, a man I don't know, he was wearing a mask, I never seen him before. He come and tell me the Dan send me and he's saying you gotta get $1,000 every week because you can't open no shop here or wherever. When I go and tell the police, all right, thanks for the information, and then they go, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do?
And then no, based on the allegations,
and then
the Dan get a message, catching, come and say, "Ole John being chief."
Why you drop for that name, real?
Well, catching.
Yeah, why that name just jump in the head?
I don't know.
No, where's that one, boy?
Alright, Susan.
You're trying to put me in here, trying to put me up, or
nobody.
Put we up, I should say. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And then there's the allegations that when after you go and make the report, the information going back to the people.
Yeah.
I think there's a huge problem. And as I say, it's something that has been going on for a while, which is still wrong.
Well, go ahead.
Right? But it has been going on for a while here in Trinidad and Tobago, which is still wrong. But as Trinidad and Tobago have this follow fashion, way about them that, hey, wait now, this is a cool thing. This
right.
You understand?
This where they are profit here.
And I said, if you could tax people, because you might be totally damn gone, but you only making a certain amount of money from the gang or whatever the case may be. Hey boy, I could use the gun, intimidate people, collect money, and keep it for myself. You understand? And that's the kind of ideas men might want to get and whatever. And if we start to go down that road, I think we could be having a lot of problems in this society, boy, dog, boy. Right? Also, this might be a reach, but I'll still put it out there. So, Khadija Amin, who is the MP for the area, was saying that, she know the woman really try to fix the area and help fix the area, and, she's real give to the area and thing. What if you're an MP for an area, and you can him control them kind of thing in that area? I don't know. I mean, it's unfortunate that it should not crime and thing, but I think it as an MP for area in Trinidad and Tobago, you have to start to operate like some of the MPs in Colombia and wherever.
No, how they operate is they become affiliated with gangs, bro.
Well,
they don't control the gangs externally. They become affiliated with gangs.
Well, the thing is then,
and I don't think we want them affiliated with gangs.
Well, I don't know if you get them some work or some contract or something, which I mean, it's not like it do happen. I don't know if that might change their behavior. Or you tell them.
Listen, everybody's do something for a reason, right? If there's no profit in following your directions or orders, then why would I listen? How would you be able to keep me in line?
But let us say, so I don't know if it might be getting them contracted bill box Jane or whatever the case may be. And I don't know if it's money they want. Let them work for it, or it might be a situation them care about working for no money.
Okay, well, how it works in Mexico is that how it's alleged to work, how I've heard about it in documentaries and so on, would be that particular politicians would affiliate themselves with particular gangs or cartels in an area. Those gangs and cartels would control a large degree of the electorate, so that's getting their support is how they get elected. But then those same gangs also have enemies, right? The enemies in the area aren't under anybody's control. And even the gangs that help them get elected, the mayor or whoever doesn't control them, they control him or her.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And he or she certainly doesn't have any control over the rival gangs in the area, right? So it doesn't really have a situation that I could envision where they affiliate themselves with the gangs and somehow manage to keep them under control. Only powerful enough gangsters just keep areas quiet. No politician is going to be able to do that. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't know how they could make themselves into some kind of super gangster. I don't know how they do that. I don't know how they're going to do that.
Well, boy, but something not happen. And
well, the police have to do the work, not the MPs. Well, I mean, the MPs should be pressuring the police to do their jobs. Should be asking if when they get word of organized criminal activity forming in the community, they should then be pressing the local police to put an end to it before it blossoms into something that they don't want. And blossoms is not the right term, of course, but before it metastasize into something that you don't want. So that's really their role, if anything at all. But the police have to do their work. The police has to nip organized crime in the bud. When some of these communities never had any affiliation to with no gang or no gang activity, just one individual go start to get bright and realize, hey, there are profit here, boy. I had no competition because I no gangsters wrong here. And I could control this block and I could start a team. And
it's what looking like is this underpunks on the people who are not necessarily or not normally the rougher type now, boy, the opposing type.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah. The docile individuals.
That's what it seems like. It seems like, hey, boy, these people in this area are looking a little soft.
Right.
And it kind of started to look like that down in Piaco too.
Right. Yeah. Right. That situation with the land thing that happened there. And when I heard the woman's sister house burned down, right? The woman who died, who was killed in St. Augustine, her sister, since the murder, however many years ago, she moved out. The burning house, well, she say the police saying that it looking like it was an electrical fire. It's real strange. She says she hasn't been in the area since the murder. She went by some next relatives and I think she says she was receiving death threats. So she moved the children to some next relative and she was staying by somebody. And she got a call yesterday saying she was on fire when she come to the house burned down. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm doing what I want up there.
Yes, and I mean, and that area, I mean, you could look at it and it looks squatterish. But I know, sorry, and if it's not squatters, I'm very sorry to the people who live there. But, you know, it have a kind of squatter-ish kind of look. But I really wouldn't have thought that. I would have never, I've been in there a few times to drop off things and I've never felt any way. I never felt,
you never felt unsafe.
Unsafe. So it was very strange to hear that apparently that's the kind of madness going on down in the back there. But that's to your point. They seem to be trying to advantage soft people.
Yeah.
So, the last thing, I guess, the last quick hit, would be the Isha number, you know, fellas.
Yeah.
Fellas.
They halfway
Ishan
get you.
Pandey and Carlos and yeah, they'll get you, man. Yes, they halfway get you because there's the civil case in the US finally getting underway now.
Yeah.
So the government might be able to extract some money out of them. But them other criminal charges, the DPP go and drop that just now. They go and drop that just now too, let's be real. Let's be honest. So 2006, that's as old as my daughter. Yeah, 17 years, bro. And nothing come of that. And just this, and once again, it's not, well, in this instance, a verdict wasn't even, you know, delivered. They didn't even reach that stage, just like now.
But what killed me is Ish say, well, he looking to sue the state. And
why wouldn't he?
And he say, well, because there's malicious prosecution. He say,
why not? Why wouldn't he?
He say, well, never had a case. But was the situation in never had a case, or it just take too long with the case? You understand what I'm saying? And you understand? I'm not saying whether they had a case or not. I do have the court documents. But is it the situation where, because that is what the DPP is saying. At this point, witnesses died. People old age living in different country and whatever. You understand what I'm saying?
The thing that I couldn't understand is when he said that they had a good argument that they would be treated unfairly, that they wouldn't be able to receive a fair trial.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm not a lawyer, but I just feel like, really? And if that is the case, and I would assume that that would be based on the fact that a lot would have been said about them on public platforms by politicians and this and that, and they would say that would prejudice, you know, people here in the case, any jury or whatever. But if that is the case, then shouldn't that inform us on how we should go forward and how we're able to go forward? Because if they could claim that a really good, if he's saying that they would have had a really, really good argument, that probably would have led to an acquittal or at least a reversal of any guilty verdict on appeal, that they weren't likely to be treated fairly, then I think that could be any high profile case, especially involving politically connected people in this country. You know, they could very well make that. So is it that we're going to have to make very strict rules about what could be said about by anybody? And obviously that it should indicate us that that's why these matters should be dealt with as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
You know, so less time for people to make out a time in statements
and for talk to spread and whatever.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I also understand how complicated it could be and the difference between the States and here. For people who have been to the States and actually been on the ground in the States, it have plenty of people who walk around the States not knowing what's going on. Things are happening in the news and they don't even know. Here, something as big as that, nearly everybody just kind of hear about it in one way or the other. So these things you had to move fast.
You had to move quickly if you want to prevent people from being able to say, hey, well, I'm not going to receive a fair trial because any jury you bring, he would have must heard somebody say, some prime minister say, some you know, high level politician say, you know. But yeah, again, we didn't even get to hear a verdict. He just said, nah, we're not likely to get a positive for them verdict, which would be a guilty verdict. They wouldn't be able, they're not likely to secure that. So just done that. It's just done that. Again, the judicial system seems to have failed. Because again, if the guys were acquitted, then that's different. If the case was argued in court and it was felt like there wasn't sufficient evidence, then at least you could say, well, the judicial system worked in the sense that it did what it was supposed to do. We just didn't get the outcome that we thought was the right one. But we had to presume the guys were innocent then if they couldn't prove their guilt. But we didn't even get that, bro. We didn't even get that.
Hey.
Yes.
And then Ishgunanja. And so one, this also the money that they claim
They pay Pandey.
they pay Pandey and his wife, right?
Yeah. I think they pay Pandey, and I think how Pandey's wife got involved is they accuse her of being like the conduit.
Right.
You know, I believe so, yeah.
Right.
Where the money, who the money passed through.
So that was just, I think, 20-something thousand pounds or something like that.
25,000 pounds.
Yeah. Right? I don't know, let me wait and see how the rest of it goes.
No, brother, man. As Ish said, the rest of them other 3 charges, it ain't long before them crumble. Because especially if Gaspard is saying, well, you know, they have a good argument that they would be, you know, they would not
well, no, but
receive a fair trial.
As it reached out in the public, just like how the last case reached out in the public, and then you started hear all kind of thing and all kind of plan come up, right? Well, now this might reach out in the public and people might start to pressure it, and I think the people...
Well, what I'm saying is, what would be different? What would be fundamentally different in the other cases?
They will find you the witness. They will find you the one witness.
Right, but then the argument will still be that
they can't get a fair trial.
They're not going to get a fair trial. Why would that change? Why would that be any different? So, I don't anticipate that anything's going to be different with respect to the criminal charges. I guess we could see if we might ever extract any money back from them in the civil case in the States. But, you know, from how that has been handled so far, I don't know. I can't have much faith in that either.
Or we might end up spending more money than we lost trying to fight that case.
I suspect we might be close to that already. The amount of money we spend behind that case. So, who knows? But yeah, the judicial system fails us again.
And it will continue to. And the politicians will continue winning.
They seem to be the only ones winning, bro. So that's it for today.
Activist Party, the LGBT community.
Well, yeah, that's it. We out.
Yeah, that's it. We gone. Hold tight. Hold firm.